2 workouts per week. This is what the Polarity fitness philosophy can get you. Less is more, man. This is just 2 hours per week in the gym. You don't need to sacrifice your life and spend hours in the gym every week to build a great physique. Bunch of bullshit. Hey guys, it's Rio here. I just woke up, had a quick shower, now I'm about to grab a little coffee. So I do about 2 coffees per day. I wake up, immediately grab a coffee, and then I get into a few hours of work. So I absolutely love coffee. I've been drinking coffee since I was 12 years old. I love it for the focus, the energy, but I also just love the taste. So I do one right in the morning and then one a couple hours later. Today we're gonna hit a quick workout. We're gonna do some bench, we're gonna do some Romanian deadlifts, some rows, some lateral raises, some bicep curls. But first we're gonna crush a little bit of work. So usually in the first 4 hours of the morning, I tend to work on content, whether that's coming up with ideas, filming, scripting videos, but right now a lot of the load has been taken off of me when it comes to content. So what I'm really focused on right now is increasing the show up rate for the sales calls, make sure that people are actually gonna, when they book a call, that they're actually gonna show up, because that's probably the main struggle right now is, lots of people are booking calls, we're getting the leads into the funnel, but people are not showing up to the sales calls. So I'm probably gonna work on implementing some new follow-up system to make sure people actually show up. And I'm also going to practice my sales structure to make sure that I'm closing sales and increasing my close percentage. So I work out twice a week for 2 reasons. The first reason is that training with a low volume approach where you're training just twice a week allows you to train hard enough to stimulate muscle growth. So if you look at most people who are training 4 to 6 days a week, they're often just going through the motions because doing a lot of volume typically means spreading your focus, effort, and resources thin, right? If you're doing a ton of training days, ton of sets, tons of reps, ton of different exercises, your focus is spread thin and you can't do justice to any one exercise. And that's why so many people are just going through the motions and never really training hard enough, bringing that level of intensity required to actually stimulate muscle growth. And the second reason is to give us plenty of recovery between workouts, because despite common belief, muscle is not built in the gym. It's built outside of the gym when you're resting and recovering. So the key to effective training is to stimulate muscle growth with a very small amount of hard training. Get out of the gym, rest, recover, come back a little bit bigger and stronger. And you want to see those progressive workouts over time where you're seeing that consistent progressive overload. Progressive overload and getting stronger over time is the sign that you are gaining muscle. It's a sign that you're getting bigger and that you're actually making progress in the gym. And most people are training way beyond their recovery ability, and they can never recover between workouts and actually string together progressive workouts where they see that gradual increase in strength. Damn. Yeah, so the bench press is a matter of staying tight. That's pretty much the name of the game. So a few tips for the bench press is that first thing is gripping the bar. So a lot of people are kind of holding the bar weak. You want to start by, first step, grip the bar as hard as you can. That creates irradiation, whereby it recruits the neighboring muscles to a greater extent, helping to bring more muscle into the equation. So squeezing the bar really hard activates the forearms and makes you really, really strong. So that's the first step. And then the next step, once you have the grip, placing your feet. So you want to place your feet really strong on the ground. So that's another tip when it comes to staying tight, is strong leg drive. So leg drive is really, really key. Most people are not driving their feet into the ground when they're doing the bench press, but that's literally the number one factor when it comes to staying tight. So you really want to think of like squatting your legs into the ground and really driving through the legs. So those are the two main things. And then when it comes to where to bring the bar, you want to bring it right below your nipple line. You can do a little pause like I'm doing right now, take the momentum off of the movement, and then press up. And then in terms of breathing, you always want to inhale on the eccentric and then blow out on the concentric. And those are the most important tips when it comes to the bench press. So I usually never eat first thing in the morning just because I'm not hungry. So I usually wake up and then have a coffee, get some work done. Then a couple hours later, I'll have my first meal, which is usually, some eggs, some fruit, something light. I tend to eat very light throughout the day just because I don't want to eat heavy meals that are rich in carbohydrates that like rice, pasta, potatoes, things like that. I like to keep it very protein and sort of fat focused. A little bit of fruit is okay, but I tend to avoid like big heavy meals throughout the day just because I want to stay focused and I don't want to feel lethargic and weighed down because my primary focus is getting work done. So I like to eat, light meals throughout the day, and then I'll have like a big dinner that's usually, a big serving of protein and then some rice or potatoes or pasta and then with some vegetables, and then usually I'll have like a little meal before I go to bed. And that's generally how I structure my meals. So usually I do 2 to 3 sets per exercise. That is what I found to be the sweet spot. Usually I just do 2 sets per exercise. I find that's the perfect amount of work to stimulate growth if you're training hard and then not overdo it to the point where you're annihilating yourself. As a general rule of thumb, if you can do more than 2 to 3 sets for an exercise, you're not training hard enough. You never want to have to do more than 2 to 3 sets. If you can do more than 2 to 3 sets, you're not training with enough intensity. The overall general philosophy is that you always want to do the fewest amount of sets possible to stimulate growth, because then that means that you can get out of the gym, rest, recover, and actually grow from the work you did, instead of just feeling annihilated and not able to recover in time for the next workout so that you can achieve a little bit of strength gain, right? So 2 to 3 sets is the sweet spot. Sometimes I do one set on an exercise like squats or deadlifts, but 2 sets is the sweet spot. The reason why I did 3 sets today on bench press is because I haven't done the bench press in a while. And when you're new to an exercise or you haven't done it in a while, the first few weeks are just you making neural adaptations. You're not actually building muscle. You're not actually building that much strength. Your body is just making neural adaptations to the movement. Therefore, sometimes you need a little bit more work to get that same muscle fiber recruitment and to actually stimulate growth. So the reason why I'm able to get such great results spending such minimal time in the gym is because of training intensity. It's because of how hard I push my sets. So here's what most people don't understand, right? There's a trade-off between volume and intensity. Arthur Jones, a legend of high intensity training, said, you can train long or you can train hard, but you can't do both. I choose to train hard instead of long. That's why I'm able to get such great results spending such minimal time in the gym. So most people are just going through the motions, and that's why they can spend so much time in the gym. They don't get great results though, because doing that much volume and sacrificing the intensity causes you to overtrain and stagnate. So if you look around your gym at all the people spending 4 to 6 days a week, sure, they're in there a lot, but their exercises don't increase in strength over time, and their physiques don't change. And so you could pose the argument of, oh, Rio, I'd rather spend more time in the gym and sacrifice my intensity. It's not that effective. So it's actually more productive to do minimal work and push those sets really close to failure and really train hard, because it's much easier on your recovery. And if you can stimulate growth with a very small amount of work, then you can get out of the gym and actually recover and grow back a little bit bigger and stronger for the next workout. And that, done over time, that progressive focus and those progressive workouts lead up to an incredible physique. But most people are just completely stagnant. So you want to hit it hard and hit it right, and then get out and on with the rest of your life. And this will allow you to build an incredible physique while spending minimal time in the gym. But it all comes down to learning how to push your sets close to failure. And that's what training intensity is. Training intensity is just pushing your sets to the point where you have nothing left in the tank. You don't need to fail, but you have to push it to where you have 0 reps left in the tank. Yeah, so I try to make sure that most of my diet is just whole foods, which are basically just single ingredient foods that are very much dense in micronutrients. And that's really what you want to focus on getting most of your calories from when you're cutting, when you're bulking. But especially when you're cutting, it's very important to make sure most of your calories come from whole foods, because they're going to obviously make sure that you don't have any nutritional deficiencies, but they're also going to keep you full, right? So if you're eating a lot of processed food and junk, you're going to have a hard time staying full and satisfied in a calorie deficit on a diet. So it's really important. And the easiest way to basically guarantee that you're going to lose a lot of body fat and successfully diet and cut is so that the way to do that is to never get hungry, right? Is to always keep your self-satisfied and full. Because if you can stay full in a calorie deficit, you've won, right? And cutting fat loss is going to be a walk in the park. It's a very common belief in the fitness industry and with nutrition experts, dieting experts, that you have to hit this certain macronutrient split, right? You have to get 40% carbs, 20% protein, blah, 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 right? People say that you have to be very meticulous with hitting this certain macronutrient split. But what I found is that it just adds extra layers of complexity to the dieting equation. And I found that my results have been actually much better just neglecting macronutrients to a certain degree. You don't want to cut out any given macronutrient. Like, you really want to make sure you're getting a balance of protein, fats, and carbs, but you don't want to like track the grams of fat, the grams of carbs. You want to obviously make sure you're getting enough protein, because if you're not getting enough protein, then you're not going to be, getting the results you want in terms of building muscle and strength. But when it comes to like being very meticulous with getting 140 grams of carbs, 90 grams of fats, it's completely unnecessary. And I find that it just adds extra layers of complexity that make it harder to stick to your diet. So you want to just focus in on the few core levers that actually get results, which is hitting the proper calorie target, getting enough protein, and getting mostly whole foods. But hitting a certain macronutrient split, for me, it was unsustainable. And my sustainability increased massively when I just dropped that sort of complexity and that extra shit and just focused on hitting sort of the core principles that actually drive results. So a lot of people make fat loss a lot more complicated than it really is. What I learned very quickly was that fat loss is not about these crazy complicated diets. It's not about having all these different rules. It's really about 2 things. If you can master these 2 things, then fat loss becomes automatic and it's the easiest thing ever. The first thing is tracking, right? Tracking is are you actually hitting the amount of calories that you think you're hitting? If you need to hit 2,200 calories to lean down, are you actually hitting that, right? The amount of times I've worked with guys who are telling me man, I'm eating 1,700 calories and I'm just not losing weight. And I'm like, man, if you were hitting 1,700 calories, you would be leaning down. There's not a chance in hell
that you would not be leaning down if you hit 1,700 calories. And the beautiful thing is that when you get tracking dialed in and you know how to track your calories with accuracy, you can actually get away with eating a lot more food than you realize because you're actually hitting that number that you say you're hitting. So that's really, really important. And the way to be accurate with calorie tracking is to master the meals, right? Get really used to the meals that you eat, that you gravitate towards, and then get used to how that looks on a plate. And if you want to be really accurate, like I like to have that extra assurance policy, so I weigh my food. A lot of people think it's a little bit too strict, it's a little bit too like non-lifestyle friendly, but I actually find it to be very reassuring. It's the only difference is that instead of having a bowl, putting food in the bowl, you're still using the same bowl in the same location, you're just slipping a scale underneath, right? That's it. And it adds that extra assurance policy so that you know you're actually hitting what you say you're gonna hit. And the second element is adherence, right? Adherence is the most important thing. You can follow a diet for a month, 2 months, doesn't matter. You need to be able to stick to the diet consistently over time. Fat loss is literally about finding the easiest, simplest, most sustainable way to eat in a calorie deficit every single day. And once you can do that and you can really stick to that day after day and you don't feel like you're dieting, you know, you're going to bed satisfied, you're feeling full, then fat loss is extremely, extremely easy. So I like to follow a very sustainable fat loss plan, which means eating in a smaller calorie deficit, but making sure that I'm actually sticking to it over time. Most people are just following crash diets. They're in like a huge calorie deficit, they starve themselves, they can't stick to it, and by the time the weekend comes, they cave, right? So full body twice a week is my favorite training split because I found through my experience that it provides the perfect balance between workload and recovery. So it allows me to get enough work done to stimulate muscle growth, but it gives me plenty of recovery, way more recovery than I would get with most other training splits. And that allows me to make very rapid progress because I hit a hard training session, then I have like 3 full days of recovery before the next one. And it allows me to train really, really hard in the gym because I have so much recovery between workouts. I step into every single workout fresh, fully recovered. Whereas with a lot of other training splits, you're still fatigued, your central nervous system's still recovering, you're still sore for the next workout. So I like to leave plenty of recovery between the workouts in order to help me achieve consistent progressive overload and get stronger, but also give myself the ability to step into the gym fresh, recovered, and able to train hard enough with a high enough level of intensity to stimulate muscle growth efficiently. So I focus on compound exercises in the gym because compound exercises are the substance builders in the gym. This is what's really going to build your physique. So many people are focused on isolation exercises, chipping away at them all day long. What they don't realize is that isolation exercises are just the icing on top of the cake. They may account for, 10% of the total muscle growth you're going to experience, right? I like to see these as the substance builders and isolation exercises as the detail exercises. And so many people have no substance on their physiques. They have no muscle. They're trying to basically chisel a pebble, right? So you have to build your physique, build the mass, build the substance with the compounds. Then you can use isolation exercise to plug the gaps, hit the weak points, get a little bit of extra work into the muscle groups that don't get hit quite as hard from the compound exercises. But compound exercises are called basic exercises because they're time proven and effective, and they put more muscle on more physiques than any other set of exercises out there. And they're not sexy because they're old school and they're time proven, and most people are attracted to new, shiny, special exercises and the science-based movements, and it's all fucking bullshit. You want to focus on the time-proven basic exercises if you want to build a legit physique.
So tell me a little bit about why you walk and how often you walk.
Yeah, so I walk for physical benefits as well as mental benefits. So walking is obviously fantastic for your physique and fat loss. I actually walk even when I'm bulking, but especially when you're cutting, what walking is very powerful for is inducing a further calorie deficit without working up a huge appetite. So walking all around, incredible for physical benefits, but also I like to just get out and clear my mind. So when I'm working for long hours, I like to take a little bit of a break, go outside, walk, clear my mind. It's absolutely incredible, especially if you can do so in the forest, in nature. I live in the city, so I have to make it work. There's a little park around here, but I love to go for like hikes in the forest and the woods. That's my preferred way of doing things. So one thing you'll notice when you're walking down these paths or you're walking through your city is that joggers tend to have weak, soft, and pudgy looking bodies. And that's because intense cardio like running, going on jogs is actually very ineffective and actually counterproductive when it comes to building a strong, lean, and muscular body. And that's for two reasons. The first reason is that when you go for runs, when you're doing this intense cardio, it tends to work up your appetite. So I remember when I was getting into fitness, I would go on runs because I thought that, the more activity, the more exercise I do, the better, right? But what happened was that I would be so hungry after these intense cardio sessions, and I would go home and I would not only eat the calories back that I burned, but I would eat way more. So I would actually end up consuming way more calories than I should have, all as a result of going for an intense run, doing intense cardio, and working up an appetite and way over consuming my calories. And it put me in this position where I really struggled to lose body fat. I actually gained weight, gained more body fat when I was doing these runs, despite common belief where people tell you, you got to go for runs to burn body fat. It's absolute bullshit. The second reason is that when you're natural, when you're not taking performance enhancing drugs, your recovery ability is limited. And if you want to make the fastest possible progress when it comes to building muscle and strength in the gym, you want to save and allocate all those resources, all that energy, all that focus into your strength training and making progress in the gym. Because if you're diluting your focus and your energy, your resources among so much different activity, you're not going to be able to make the fastest possible progress in the gym. So you can go get your steps in, get like 10 to 15,000 steps per day, and you're not going to increase your appetite at all. You're going to induce a further calorie deficit, which is going to help you increase the rate at which you lose body fat, but it's not going to increase your appetite, causing you to then eat those calories that you burned back and then some, which is what happens when you tend to do lots of intense cardio. And it's also not going to have an impact on your recovery because it's low intensity cardio, and it's not going to take away and detract from your efforts when it comes to building muscle and strength in the gym. I choose the isolation exercises I choose based upon what I feel are weak points lagging behind. So I like to see isolation exercises as the tools to plug the gaps left by the core compound exercises. So the compound exercises in your routine are going to build the substance. That's going to be like the cake, right? The isolation exercises are the icing on top of the cake. It's going to finish off those muscle groups that might lag behind as a result of not getting hit too hard on the compound movements. So for example, biceps is something that I like to hit sort of twice a week. One of my workouts I do weighted chin-ups and pull-ups, which hits the biceps pretty hard. But then I feel like I need a little bit of extra bicep work, so I throw in some curls on my other workout, and that's sort of how I see it. Something like the side delts, for example, I like to throw in lateral raises because most movements don't hit the side delts sufficiently. You could say the same thing for lots of other small muscle groups like the neck, the calves, different things like that. So I'm recording my workout in my workout log. So I believe that there's one thing that if everyone started doing would fix this whole lack of progress that people have nowadays in the fitness world. And it's tracking your workouts, man. So most people are just going through their workouts in a daze. They don't have a competitive spirit that's cultivated in the gym. And that competitive spirit, that fight, is absolutely crucial for building a great body, because building a great physique is all about progress. It's seeing progressive overload over time. That's the most important thing. And if you don't have concrete reference points written down, how do you know how you're going to improve, right? You see so many people just walking into the gym, they don't have their workout log, they don't have their sets and reps and the weight recorded. They're doing a different workout in every single workout, and they're not planning for progress, right? What gets measured is what gets improved. So you have to always have these concrete reference points. And if you're going into a set, you shouldn't be on TikTok, you shouldn't be on Instagram, scrolling through your fucking social media. You should be looking at your workout log and being like, okay, what did I get last time? I'm gonna try add a rep here, I'm gonna add a little bit of weight there. It's these small improvements and that striving for progress over time that adds up to incredible progress. And it all starts with the workout log and holding yourself accountable and having concrete reference points that help you cultivate that competitive spirit in the gym.
Give me a second and we'll get back to it.
You want to hear something funny? I've always wondered this. Have you ever noticed that I pinch my nipples sometimes? You never see me do that? I always do that before I do a take.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I like the look of like having hard nips. Like it makes you, because like if I have like soft nips, like I don't know, it just looks weird in a shirt. Like it makes you look a bit more like firm and jacked when you have like hard nips. Fucking hilarious. I always do it before I get into shot. I've always wondered if you like seen me do it in the video. No? Yeah. Little pinch, you know, just like stimulate them a little bit.
Get a performance.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, wake them up. Like, hey, wake up, motherfuckers.